This might be the first video that doesn't start off with me saying that I was laying in bed this morning and scrolling Twitter and I came across this story. Instead, this was in my DMs. Shout out to my man Mike for bringing it to my attention. I didn't know who Peanut the Squirrel was until today, so I'm going to bring you guys down the path that I went as I learned more about this situation where they decided to euthanize this squirrel and a raccoon, which from a legal standpoint, I guess I understand to an extent because here in New York, where I also live, it is illegal to own wildlife, but I just feel like there's a lot of nuance and context to every situation. So we got a couple of things that I think we need to talk about, but before we do, this was the first video that I came across.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to update all of you, but I would first like to say how grateful I am for all of the love and support. You guys have no idea how much you have gotten me through the day and a half of just torment and a nightmare. I can't believe what transpired yesterday. I'm going to leave the details out of it, but we have the understanding that the DEC will not tell us whether or not Peanut is alive or not. So I can't give you a definitive answer of whether or not he's still here with us. I hope we have an opportunity to take him back and continue this journey on starting a nonprofit in a squirrel's name. Starting this nonprofit has been a dream come true. Showing the life of a squirrel has been nothing but incredible, and I can't thank you all for the love and support. So please continue to check the GoFundMe out. Please donate if you can. We have hired a legal team, so there's going to be a lot of expenses coming our way. So I just want to say thank you for everybody who signed petitions and emailed and called and really supported us. Hopefully we could bring Peanut home, but I can't do it without you guys. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for looking out for me and my family and the animals here at Peanut Farm.
From everything I can tell, this was the first video that they made to let the internet know what was going on. At the time, they didn't think that the squirrel had been euthanized. They were still trying to find information. Unfortunately, they did end up euthanizing the squirrel and the raccoon, but before we dive a little bit further into that and my thoughts and why I think that this is really a weird situation, this is what I was looking up to find out a little bit more about who Peanut the Squirrel was. So in an article, it explained that Peanut's popularity was no joke. An Instagram page dedicated to the squirrel has more than 550,000 followers, and the couple uploaded their playful interactions with the rodent and other animals they care for. Longo and his wife established the animal sanctuary called Peanut's Freedom Farm last year, inspired by the squirrel. Longo told his followers that he had taken the rodent in after he witnessed the squirrel's mother being hit by a car. The squirrel refused to return to the wild and became attached to the couple. And it's kind of crazy because I know somebody personally who has this exact same story. They saw the mother of a squirrel get hit by a car, and the baby didn't seem to know what to do, so they took the baby in and cared for it for a while. And in this situation, the baby was willing to go back in the wild, so there wasn't really a problem. But if it doesn't want to, like, what are you supposed to do? You just send it out there to die, you drop it off somewhere where it can't find its way back to you, and then it goes to some other people because it starts to trust humans, and it might end up getting killed or abused, or just any sort of bad things can happen. At the same time, I understand that there is laws that say that you can't own wildlife. You're not supposed to move them from your property to some other location. You're not supposed to care for them. Like, I get it to an extent, right? And I think that it comes from them not wanting you to get hurt, not wanting you to go out and abuse animals or cause any kind of disruption in wildlife. And also, if you take on an animal and it gets accustomed to humans and then you put it back in the wild, depending what type of animal it is, it may attack people because it's going to feel way more comfortable around them, and it could just lead to a lot of problems. So I assume that that's why those laws are in place. But there should be exceptions. There should be ways for you to apply for a license or something if you have a unique situation, which I believe that this is, and it was causing no harm to anybody. Now, I assumed, based on everything that I saw, that they might have just picked this squirrel up recently, maybe within the last year, and that was why they opened up the Freedom Farm. They had this squirrel for 7 years. 7 years they cared for this squirrel. It was growing up with them. They treated it like family, basically, at this point, no different than someone's dog or cat. And after 7 years, they apparently received an anonymous complaint. And it must have been a bunch of them, or it must have been somebody in a position of power, because I don't see how you would go through going to a court and getting a judge to sign off on a search warrant and all this shit to go get 2 animals. It's like, it's just better things that we could be doing with our time. But before I dive into more of that, because I'm starting to get a little upset, we're going to watch a video where he talks about when they found out that they ended up euthanizing the squirrel.
We just learned that they have euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal. After they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
They got a search warrant. 4 departments and a judge signed off on a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And then they took them and killed them.
Why did they go through all that to get a search warrant for an animal that had been with you very safely, and the world witnessed this, for 7 years? Why now suddenly did they show up with a search warrant and take these animals?
We haven't a clue. We don't know who made the complaints. Again, Peanut was an indoor squirrel, not harming anybody. He's been with us for 7 years. Not a single complaint was ever filed for this animal. We had him for 7.5 years. He became the world's most famous squirrel. We weren't hiding him by any means. He was all over TikTok. He became the first squirrel on TikTok to ever hit 1 million followers. He did every news station around the world. He's helped people. He's helped kids gather joy. And then we started a nonprofit animal rescue called Peanut's Freedom Farm to help animals like Peanut fight a good fight when they're in a neglected case or they're sitting in a slaughter auction. And he was the cornerstone of our life and our organization. We used his platform to help raise money for the 300 animals we have at our sanctuary.
How did you find out that they euthanized Peanut?
They haven't messaged me. They haven't called me. They haven't given me a formal statement whatsoever. The last time I heard from the DEC was when they left my house. Another news station called me with their statement, and that's how I found out Peanut is gone. They didn't even have the heart to call me themselves to tell me what was going on. This state has more problems than a squirrel and a raccoon, and we're using our taxpayers' dollars to help take these animals out of a comfortable place, all because of some paperwork? The statement released that Peanut bit one of the people. Peanut's bitten me 5 times in 7 years. Peanut also is an animal that only knows me. So why wouldn't you have protective gloves on and protective equipment to allow an animal like him that to bite you? Also, to be honest with you, I don't buy it whatsoever. The fact
I didn't know about squirrels ever in my life, and when I came to Peanut a couple of years ago, like, he would have never bitten me. Like, he never bit me.
The complaints we're told are anonymous. So anonymous claims got the state to get a search warrant, which was signed by multiple different departments and a judge. So I want to know what the evidence was that this was such a devastating thing to the community that we had to waste taxpayers' dollars and ruin a family in a nonprofit animal rescue because we have power.
Will you be taking some legal action?
Oh, the firefight has just begun. This needs to be used as an example of how this state uses their resources and their power. Not only that, the only source of income and donations have come from Peanut's social media. I don't know how I'm going to run the nonprofit animal rescue with over 300 animals at my sanctuary right now without the funding from Peanut. Yeah. My wife and I work 3 jobs to pay the other 50% of the $20,000 we have to accumulate in funding a month for these animals.
So I don't know about anybody else, but after watching that, it's just hard. Like, it's hard. You're watching his wife literally cry. Like, she's sad because they took something that they've known for 7 years. It blew my mind. Like, again, I thought that this was like, okay, he had this squirrel for a few months, maybe a year, still a really unfortunate situation that I don't agree with, but it's not as crazy as knowing that he had this thing for almost a decade, and they come after all of that, and they're like, well, we've got to take it. If there's been no issues, it hasn't bit anybody, hasn't attacked anybody, hasn't had any problems, I just don't understand why we care. Why is our tax money going to you figuring that out when we have so many other problems to deal with? And honestly, I kind of think of it like fireworks. And I know it's completely different because it's a wild animal. There's different reasons why that is illegal versus fireworks. But for those that live in New York or some other states where it's illegal, like, fireworks are not legal here. Yet every 4th of July, every other house on this block and every block as far as I can go is shooting off fireworks. Literally everywhere. It's all you hear all night long. And guess what? The cops just let it go because everybody's doing it. Now, if you call and you complain enough, they'll go talk to somebody. I've seen people get talked to. They don't even take their fireworks. They just tell, hey, just calm it down. You know, the neighbor over here is loud. It's getting late. You know, just save it for another time. They'll even tell you to go shoot them off somewhere else. Now, I get that everybody doesn't care for wildlife and taking squirrels and everything like that, but in a unique situation where there is no harm to anybody, and it's been going on for almost a decade, why do you care so much? It doesn't make any sense. And not only that, but apparently the squirrel and the donations that it gets from Instagram and TikTok and all this other stuff where they've been posting it for years, it's a big portion of what they use to pay for their rescue farm that goes towards horses, cats, dogs, and whatever animals that they come across so they can care for them and get them back into a better life. And they don't have that now anymore. They literally just took the breadwinner and just killed it. I don't get it. And they say that they're going to try to take them to court. They're trying to raise money for the lawyers and all that kind of stuff. And I hope that it works out. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know if they're going to win, because if the law says one thing, I feel like they're going to go with the law. I don't think that it's going to matter that this is a unique situation. I don't think it's going to matter that this is a law that you don't see enacted all that often. I just don't think any of that's going to matter. The fact that it is a law is probably going to be the only thing that matters. And that's what's messed up at the end of the day. They did this. They're going to get away with it. It's not going to matter. And animals that were perfectly fine, healthy, living a great life, they're gone. They're dead. It's crazy. I don't get it. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I just wanted to share it with you guys. Some of you may know about it. Some of you may not. But this shit crazy. It makes no sense. So anyways, I'll catch you in the next one, homies.